right, guys, we're going to start a project, and this is going to be more of like a get together and create an album together each week until it's finished. Now, I'm using Kathy Orta's original hidden hinge binding system, and I have put a link to her original video from 7 years ago. And I know she has an updated version that is patent protected. So I wanted to make sure Kathy got credit because I am sharing her original idea. Now, I know that you can contact Kathy and get the newer instructions directly from her, okay? So we're going to do her original hidden hinge and make an envelope journal. So I asked that you get a 6x6 pad. If your envelopes, if you're wanting to decorate these, the reason I said 6x6 is because I have a ton of 6x6 paper pads that I need to use up, and I'm not buying any more paper until I've used some up. So 6x6, or if you've got 8x8 and you have larger envelopes, use your 8x8. If you've got really big envelopes, you can use them, but you might need 12x12 paper. So whatever paper pad you have that you would like to get used up, you need a paper pad. We're not going to use this till probably next week because we're going to do the binding today. The decorating will come later, but the idea is to use up a 6x6 paper pad or a good bit of it. Then you need 6 envelopes, and I'm using invitation envelopes that are, let's see, that's 4 3/8 by 5 3/4. Okay, so that's what I'm using. You can use any size envelopes to do this. You can use toilet paper rolls to do this. You can use anything that you can make a page out of. You can use this hinge system with. And then you need cardstock. And I am using 110-pound cardstock. I bought this at Walmart a while back. So I've got that, and you need that to create the hinge. If you only have lighter weight cardstock, it will work. It just will not have the longevity. If you're going to give it to somebody that's going to constantly flip through it, or, takes it and shares it like a brag book where it's going to get the pages turned a lot. If it's a lighter weight cardstock, it will have a tendency of breaking down quicker. Okay. So basically today you need 1 sheet of cardstock and your 6 envelopes. Save any offcuts for tags and such for later. Okay. So I'm going to set the paper, the extra paper and the paper pad aside. All right. All right. Did you find the link? Hi, Vicki. I'm only staying on for an hour today, an hour each Thursday. That's Kathy Orta's original video right there. I just put it up. And it's also in the description box below. All right. The first thing you need to do is, because everybody's probably going to have different sized envelope, I want you to open your envelope, and you can see, let's see. You see how your envelope comes up at an angle here? We want to know the distance from where that envelope starts going up on that side and where it is on this side. And mine came out to be 5 5/8. So we want to cut a 5 5/8 inch strip from our cardstock in height. 5 5/8. So I'm going to cut that. All right. Then to do 6 pages, you're going to need a piece that's 9 3/4 inches long. And remember, save the offcuts. You can use them later. And I'm going to put all of my stuff for this weekly project in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. so that I can keep track of it. All right, so cut this at 9 3/4. All right, set that aside. All right. So if you've got the same size envelopes as me, let's see, we've got Teresa Church and Nancy and Ray and Vicki Biggs, and there's Mary, and Samantha Owens and Vicki Ross, and Dawn Boss and Samantha Owens. All right. So get your measurement of what your flap is from where, so that the hinge will insert inside the envelopes. So that's why I say measure just a little bit inside this edge of this. Let me see if I can find a different piece of paper here so you guys can maybe see this. This is how I got my 5 5/8. Where the flap comes up, you start it just inside the envelope a little bit and then measure over to the same part on the other side. And that's how I came up with 5 5/8. So if you measure the width of your envelope, mine's at 5 3/4, you're basically taking 1/8 of an inch off the width of your envelope. That might make more sense to y'all. Hi, Gloria. So measure your width of your envelope and then take 1/8 of an inch away, cut a strip that wide, and then by 9 3/4. All right. I'm going to try, if you guys need me to slow down so you can catch up, just say it and we'll slow down and I'll chat and that kind of stuff. I want this to be something where you guys can ask questions and get answers while we're doing it. And I know that some people might get frustrated with me over that, but the whole idea is to show you guys how to do one of these albums really quick. All right. Once you get your piece, the width of your envelope and 9 3/4 inches long, everybody will need the 9 3/4 inches long. Okay. Hi, Sherry Habing. Then we're going to need our scoreboard. If you don't have a scoreboard, this part, I mean, you can still do it, but you might have to do pencil lines and, and then use your ruler and all that. What is the large white sheet? It's the 110-pound cardstock from Walmart. And like I said earlier, if you don't have 110, 80 will work. But if you're going to gift this to somebody that's going to share it a lot and it's going to get a lot of opening and closing and people looking through the pages, you might want to make sure you have 110-pound cardstock. You don't want to go much thicker than that because then it won't whatever this is, emboss very well and it might crack. This is to make the hinge, Mary. We're going to make a hinge to put our envelopes on. Okay? And this is Kathy Order's original hidden hinge guide. All right? So once you get your sheet, the 5 5/8 wide by 9 3/4, the first mark you're going to mark at 1 1/4. All right? So mark 1 1/4. Then you're going to do 1/2 inch. So come over from 1 1/4 to 1 3/4. So you'll do another 1/2 inch. So 1, 2 at 2 1/2. Is that right? No, that's too much. 2 1/4. But that's okay because the next mark is 1/4. So you'll do 1 1/4, then you'll mark another 1/2 inch. So from 1 1/4, you'll go to 1 3/4, and then from 1 3/4, you'll go to 2 1/4, and then the next mark you'll do is 2 1/2. So you'll have two sections that are at 1/2, 1/2, 1/4. Then we're going to do 1/2, 1/2, 1/4, and you'll just keep doing that all the way across. Now, if you guys need me to write down exactly where each of the marks are, I can do that really quick after I get them marked, okay? It's 9 3/4 inches the long way, and then whatever your measurement for your envelope is, from 1/8 of an inch smaller than the width of your envelope. So you've got to measure whatever your envelopes are. Mine happen to be 5 3/4. So when I take 1/8 of away, that's 5 5/8. All right. So I'm going to keep doing that. And then when I'm done, I'll write down what these measurements are for you, if that would help. Oh, Lord. I'm so sick of those warnings. Oh, Scott sent me a message too. He said there's 6 hen turkeys. I bet he had to go a different way to get to work. 6 hen turkeys by the school. Water up to the bridge at the creek by the pretty cows. Oh boy, that's a lot of water. All right. So you do 1 1/4, and then do your 2 marks 1/2 inch away from each other, and then another 1/4 inch. Let me finish these and I'll give you the exact measurements. So now we need to go 1/2 inch at 3 and 1/2 inch at 3 1/2. And then we'll do 1/4. So we're at 3 3/4. Now we got to do 1/2 inch. So that's 4 1/4. Another 1/2 inch is 4 3/4. And then we need to do 1/4. So that's 5. Okay. And then 5 1/2 and 6 and 6 1/4. 6 1/4, and then 6 3/4. I'll write these down and put them in the description box. 6 3/4, and then 1/2 inch from that, it's 7 1/4, and then 7 1/2, and then 8, and 8 1/2. And then you should have about 1 1/4 left on the end here. All right. So let me write these measurements down for you guys. Hi, Journey. All right. So your score marks, score at 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 1/2, 3, 3 1/2, 3 3/4, 3 3/4, then 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 4 3/4, 5, 5 1/2, 6, 6 1/4, 6 1/4, 6 3/4, 7 1/4, 7 1/2, 7 1/2, then 8, and 8 1/2. All right. So that's the scores. It's going to be hard to read. All right, so that was the score lines. For anybody that's watching this as a replay, the measurements will be in the description box as soon as I sign off from here. All right, so this is basically, you suck at math. All right, now we're going to fold on these. So fold the first 1 1/4 inches, fold it up like this. Go ahead and score it. This will attach to the front of your book, okay? So the next one, you're going to make a mountain with it. And then we're going to fold it back the other way, this way. On the very next line. It gets a little fiddly when you're getting down to the 1/4 inch score lines. But you're going to score on all of your score lines first, okay? But what you'll end up with is we're going to put some glue back here on the 1/2 inch measurements and bring them together. So that'll give you a place to glue your envelope. This is just like we did on the paper bag album that last year, was it? Or the year before? Year before. The next one we're going to fold. It's hard to describe this until I get to the second 1/2 inch. So make a mountain at your 1/2 inch centers, because you're going to do, this will go on the cover. So like if your book is open, here's your cover. So you'll have, there'll be an envelope here. Then there'll be a 1/4 inch space. I did just like she did, because you know how we fill these up with tags and stuff like that. Then this will be another hinge here. And you're just going to keep folding it so that it does this. See how it makes that? But I want to get them all folded before I glue anything. And you can use any color paper to make your hinge, really. I had thought about using black paper, but I didn't change my mind and used white. I actually have a multi-packet of that's got gray and black and brown, I think. So just keep folding on your score lines. Basically, the 1/4 inch one, the 1/4 inch scores, they're a little bit more fiddly because they're so narrow. But you really do want that space. But see, when you fold on it, they both are going the same way. So you're creating a flat valley like that. So if you're looking at it from the hinge side, this will go up. There goes my sump pump again, like this. All right, you can see how the 1/4 inch ones lay flat, and you get like these ribs. This is where you'll attach your envelopes. So we'll just keep going. You fold this back up, and then you go back down on your 1/2 inch so that you've created another mountain on the 1/2 inch one. I just find it easier to fold these 1/4 inch ones if I kind of flip the paper back and forth so that it lays flat. I'll fold this back that way. I had made one of these up, but I figured, you know, if we are working along, I would just make another. There we go. All right. Now we're going to do another mountain on the 1/2 inch piece. And I'll look at chat here in just a second. To see if there's any questions before I go on to the next step. You just want to make sure the 1/4 inch ones make up, when you get it between two mountains, the 1/2 inch ones make mountains and the 1/4 inch ones make the valley in between. So you want to make sure that you don't want to fold the second one the opposite way. You want to make sure that the 1/2 inch score lines are pointing in the same way, so they point up to create the mountain. So it's a wide valley in between your 1/2 inch mountain. All right, and I've got one more mountain here. I'm going to score that, and then we just need this last one to go back up this way. All right, so you end up, these make all these valleys, and if you count your mountains, you should have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? All right, is everybody doing okay? I don't know who all is yeah, I'm going to put the measurements for the score lines, and I'll remind y'all, you need with 6 pages, you need 9 3/4 inches, and then the width of your envelope less 1/8 of an inch, because you want your hinges to fit inside the envelopes. Everybody doing? Oh, hey, Peg. Let's see, Brittany, hello. Yes, we're making an envelope journal. All right. So I'm not seeing any questions. It's a rainy day. We're trying to fill up time. What you're going to do, once you get all your little mountains here, you've got to glue them together some way. Now you can use glue or tape, whichever you want. I've actually got Scotch Quick Dry inside my Baby Bot here. So I'm just going to put some Scotch Quick Dry in here. You can use red line tape or double-sided tape. Just don't get the glue on the 1/4 inch spots, just the 1/2 inch spots. My stomach's growling at you guys. All right, and then just pinch your mountains together. Fiddly, it's fiddly. If you wanted to glue them one at a time, you can. I'm just pinching my 2 pieces together that's on the 1/2 inch side to create my ribs or my hinges. All right, so you'll end up with something like this. It might take a minute for the glue to settle up. So there we go. All right. Just trying to make sure they're glued together well. So this is your ribs that you'll attach your thing. That's okay, Dawn. If you go back and just do the replay, then you can stop me and work and then rewind and that kind of stuff. That's fine. Hi, Ann. So is anybody having trouble with their hinge? You should have something like this after you glue it together. It'll look like that on the back, and it'll have fins like that. Okay? We're going to set this aside and let the glue dry. And now we're going to get our envelopes. And I want you to, you're going to think this is crazy, but I want you to go through and glue all your envelopes closed. And I would just lick this and stick this, but these are like ancient old envelopes. So I'm just going to put a little of my Scotch Quick Dry along the edge and just close them up that way. And just close them up. Just don't get too much glue on or you'll glue it completely closed. And we need to be able to get back inside it in a minute. And I did mean for this to be kind of a work along. So that's why I'm focusing on just doing the project. Trying not to do a lot of chit chat in case somebody else, doesn't want to hear all the chit chat. I want Thursday to be more of a kind of a tutorial kind of day. Just glue all your envelopes closed. There is another way to do this, to use the flaps and all, but I wanted the first one we do together to be a little bit, just really easy to do. Okay. So they're all closed, all glued closed. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take your cutter and you're going to just cut just a little sliver off both edges. You're going to cut a little sliver off here and a little sliver off on the other side. Just make sure all of your envelopes end up to be the same width. So whatever measurement you trim to on the very first envelope, all of them need to be that same size, okay? Hold up, Janet. We're making pockets. Don't worry about that. We're good. It's all good. So I'm going to trim just a tiny, you just need to trim off enough to open it back up. This way, by doing it this way, you don't have a flap if you to get in the way. You can get into the pocket and you have a flat page surface too, a full flat page. So just trim off a tiny little bit. Uh-oh, my blade came off. Hang on. Whoop, whoop. I'm going to trim mine down to, let's see. I think I'll trim mine so they all are at 4 1/4. I think that'll do. Let's see if that'll be good. I think I'm open. So after you trim, you should have something like this. Okay? Janet says she's just thinking out loud. Geez, back. We're having pockets. It's all good. So I'm trimming mine to be 4 1/4 inches this way. Not the width the other way, unless that's the way you wanted to do your pockets. I just wanted more upright surface to put pictures and things on. Okay, so that's at 4 1/4, 4 1/4. And I'm not keeping the little trimmy bits off the envelopes. I was noticing the Italian restaurant up the road has got, they're going to have prime rib special for Valentine's. Thought that was interesting. Saw that today when I ran to the post office. I waited for the rain to stop enough to go to the post office and drop the postcards in that I made last night. Because I wasn't sure if the mail lady was going to get here without the envelopes, the postcards getting wet out there in the mailbox. So it's just been a horrible day here today. Did that go all the way through? Yeah. It's got a little glue on it. That's why it's hanging up. That's why you have to be careful of how much glue you put on so you don't glue your envelope closed. All right. All right, so you should end up with all of your envelopes looking like here. Boop, 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 boop. All right, so now you have a way to get into the side. All right. How's everybody doing? Are we doing okay? All right, so we're going to bring our hinges back over here. Yeah, you can still put stuff in them. It's just, it'll be a nice, neat square page then. You won't have that flap in the way. If you're still not glued down good enough, or if it's coming up, you can always add a little glue. Like I said, these envelopes were down in the garage here, so they're probably 30 or 40 years old. The bottom of the envelope wasn't glued all the way, so I need to go back and get those corners glued down. It probably won't matter in the long run, but it's bothering me, so I'm going to glue them down. That'll give everybody a chance to catch up with me. This is just where the bottom was not quite glued to at the factory, I think. They probably didn't worry about it. They figured it's closed. Finally got me a copy of my favorite magazine at a different grocery store. I was so glad to finally find it. One more. All right. I just wanted to make sure that my envelopes aren't going to fall apart. All right, so I've got my envelopes, so I can put a tag in the side and I can attach it to my hinge. Before I do that, though, what I want to do, these have set up now, is I'm going to cut a little bit of an angle off from each hinge so that it'll set nice inside these envelopes, inside the envelopes. Okay? So I'm just going to trim and trim. These do not have to be even. They're going to be hidden inside the envelope anyway. And I'll show you what this looks like when I get them all cut. All right, so all of my mountains now have an angle cut on them. Boy, that's so fuzzy. Do y'all see how that is? Maybe, let's see, how can we show you? There you go. There you can see that I've got an angle cut on each one of these. See how the mountains have mountains on the edges? All right. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to put some glue on both sides of my mountain. I'll take an envelope and get the edge open again. Doesn't matter which way you put it on there. And I'm just going to slide the envelope over the mountain. The only thing you want to make sure is your pages all line up as you put them on. So take your time. The only reason I can go quick at this is I've made several of these. But I am trying to make myself slow down. You can use tape too. I just find this quick dry glue works really good. Trying to get that to stick up there so it'll be out of my way. Here we go. And you can spread your glue out with your finger too. That might be a good idea. And try not to get it in your valleys, like I just did there. Okay, now I need a wet one or something to put the glue on. There we go. All right, take my envelope. This actually slides on better if you got it down flat like this. And because I am using quick dry, all right, just kind of make sure you're even. And then pinch it along there. You just don't want to push your envelope down so far down in that it's taking up space on either your valley or your cover flap. What is my favorite magazine? Quilts and More. And the reason I like Quilts and More is because they have more than just quilt projects. This one had a baby quilt and a tote bag and pillows and all kinds of projects in it. And it's only available on the newsstands. At least that's what they told me. But then I saw this company called Zeno, and they were advertising that I could get a subscription to it. So I might order a subscription to it. For the longest time, it was available by newsstand only. Just take your time. Oh, man. Come on. I will get it on there. It's so dark and dreary today. Make sure you bring your envelope up so that you make sure your second page that you put on is the same position as the first one you put on before you squeeze it down into the glue. And if you have any glue running amok, this is when you clean it up real quick. Oh, and another reason to not use tape is if you put tags in, sometimes that tape will grab your tags, you know, and glue, once it's dried, it's dried. And you can use tacky glue if that's what you have. I just really like Scotch Quick Dry. I don't know why. I just do. All right. We will need some chipboard too. Let's see, what time is it now? It's 3:40. I just want to make sure everybody is at the same point when we stop for today, and then next week we'll need the chipboard. We might wait and do that next week since I didn't call for it today, and that'll give you guys a chance if you want to use like leftover. If you want to recycle a piece of chipboard, that'll give you a week to get it together if you don't have one on hand. And I'm just working my way from one side to the other of these. Now I know Kathy Orta has some other hinging options. She has one. This is hidden hinge, and then she's got another one that lays a lot flatter. So you might want to go check out Kathy Orta's channel. It's Kathy Orta something else now, though. She got married. But she's on live sometime showing her techniques and stuff. All right. They're pretty close. I'm just trying to make sure they're as even as I can get them, put it that way. This is just fiddly bits. It's like she said in that video I shared in the description box. You can make these any size. You can go great big, or you can do itty bitty. Or you can use toilet paper rolls. She's done all kinds of stuff. I actually found one of her books at the thrift store one time, and I was like, oh, yay, I know Kathy Orta. Well, I know her on YouTube, but I don't know her in person. But anyway, I got all excited about it because I love her techniques, and the ideas she comes up with amazes me as far as journal creating. So I can't talk Kathy up enough. And I would encourage you to go check out her channel. One more, and I'll have all 6 envelopes. And see, now this side is open, and we can put tags in there. Now, if you're using like the envelopes and card sets, you can use the cards. And I don't know if I have a card to show you or not. I'll fold a piece of paper and show you what I mean. Hang on just a second. I know, Mary, you had your pictures of some of your projects, which you could do that and mat them and put them on these envelope pages and mat them and put them in the pockets. That would be really cool. Yes, I was gifted the Baby Bot, and it works great for my Scotch Quick Dry because I don't like to buy the Scotch. You can't really get it in a bigger bottle. But it's my favorite glue because it grabs quick and dries quick for when I'm doing, you know, I would say a lesson, tutorial, whatever. And if you are going somewhere for a class or something, I've found that the quick dry works. If you're having to work along, it dries just really quick. Now, if you are one that just needs more time to make sure everything's in position, I would recommend tacky glue because it gives you more time to work. All right, so there we go. And what we'll do is we'll create a, we'll have a piece of chipboard here, and then we'll have 2 pieces for the covers. Okay, and we'll do that next week. But I was going to say, if you have the cards that go with your envelopes, let me see. I'll just get one of these pieces of extra. And I'm just going to cut a piece. What did I say was the height on this? 5 5/8. I'm going to do 5.5 inch tall. Just make it like a regular card size. And then I'll score it at 4 1/4. So it'll be 4 1/4 by 5.5. All right. So say you have the sets where you have the envelopes and the cards, you know, like the ones they sell at Joann's and Michael's and all that. Go ahead and fold the card. This is kind of a finishing thing, but I didn't want you to think, you know, you couldn't use those pre-made cards set things either. But then you can take your card. Let's do it on the one that's already dried a long time. And you can just slide it in the pocket like that. I can get it to slide in the pocket. It might have to be trimmed down a little, but what it does is now you have a flap, but you can still pull the card out, and you can use this side on the inside and the outside. So like the part that gets slid inside, you have a place here and a place there. And I think you would have to trim your cards because we got to take into account for the hinge we have in there. So maybe at trim it down so it's 4 inches wide instead of 4 1/4. I'm just going to put it on here. This is the fold of the card. I'm going to trim the 1/4 inch off. So then you would have all of these spaces that you could put pictures or decorations or whatever. And see, that just folds out. So if you have the card sets, you can use them. And if you want them to go in farther, you can trim even more off. This is still sticking out too much for me. 3 3/4. Let's see if 3 3/4 inch wide will do. But see, because I've got such a big hinge in there, I'm having to trim this down. There we go. That brings the fold of the card to the edge of here. So just trim your cards, and then you have a little flap that folds out, and then you can still pull it out. So it's like a flap card tag thing. So you could do that for each of your envelopes, and then you still have room in there to add more stuff. But we'll get to the decorating and all of that another time. It's 3:47. Let me see. Janet, thanks for the link to this is the baby bot. And this was a gift. Somebody gifted this to me. It's on Amazon, but it's also from fastcap.com. I don't know who has the better price, but this came from Amazon, but the original website is FastCap. And it does come with 2 different tips. I just like the smaller tip, so I just pitched the other one. I didn't even save it. Isn't that horrible? Use whatever glue you have. All right. So is everybody to this point where you have your envelopes and your hinges are created and your envelopes are on? What's the thing with it? What do you mean? This here? This right here is the cover to keep the glue from drying out. And you can put it on the lid over here. I feel like they should be paying me because I think I've sold a lot of baby bots. And you can put it over here just to get it out of your way so you can see what you're doing. And then you just take it and put it back on there to cover your glue so it doesn't dry out. And see, I have the big guy too. This has got regular tacky glue in it. Once you fill this up and you put this lid on here, never open this lid again until you have to refill. Because what you do is you fill it up, and then when you open this side and you squeeze the bottle, when you squeeze it, see how the glue just comes up and out this other side, and you don't have to do that shake down. And then when you let go of it, it pulls the glue back down away from the tip and back into this chamber. If you open this, you displace that air that's being utilized to move the glue around. Does that make sense? But yeah, baby bot, you guys owe me some money. Okay, so Dawn's good. Let's see. Next week, we've got the last 10 minutes. I'm not going to attempt anything else now. If you want to, by next week, if you have cards and you want to do this number, go ahead and get them trimmed to fit. I might go and make a bunch of these cards just to put in here. I am going to show you how to, on the opposite side of where a card would flap over, I'm going to show you how to make a pocket as we decorate. So on the back sides, if you jump ahead, don't decorate the back sides of the envelope for a little while until, if you don't want to learn how to do the pocket, the angle pocket on the back side, then don't worry about it. But if you want to wait and learn something new, I would say wait and just keep working along with me. Next week, as well as your paper pad. So next week, bring your paper pad again. Save your bits of trimmed off bits from your making cards, or if you have the cards that came with the envelopes, you can use those. Just trim them so they'll fit in your pockets so they are snug in there. So like the fold of the card comes to the edge of your envelope. Do that. You're going to bring your paper pad, whichever side you decide to use. And then you're going to need some chipboard. And I will show you how to trim it down, but it needs to be let's see. If it's 6 by, if you have a piece that's about 6 by 12, that would probably give you a big enough, not big enough. It'll give you enough chipboard to do a spine and a front and a back. And we'll attach that on there, okay? So this is something we're going to do each Thursday, and we'll go a little bit farther each Thursday. And I figured this way it would be a project that everybody could work along. And if they had questions, they could be answered. And if you needed more time to get to each stage, you'd have all week. So I only want to do a little bit of the project each week instead of trying to do a whole bunch of it. And then we all end up with this journal that's half finished, laying around, blah, blah, blah. So watch the replay. Barb, just watch the replay. And I will be back here next Thursday at 3 for another hour. I want to keep these at an hour so nobody gets bored. And next week, bring a chipboard piece, big enough to do a cover for your envelopes, okay? And your paper pad and adhesives, all right? And I will see you guys next week, Thursday at 3 p.m. for this project, 3 p.m. on Wednesday for Dirty Dozen or Pick 10, okay? Thank you guys so much. Take care.